Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a pen which I would kind of classify as my completing the collection type pen. Reason why I say this is because I already have a custom 743 by Pilot, and spoiler alert, if you already have this pen, there's really no reason for you to get 742 unless it's, like I mentioned, for the purpose of completing the collection. However, I'm going to be approaching this quick look by assuming that you do not have one of these, and I'll just look at the 742 really objectively. So I'm going to spend a very short time looking at the packaging. I really appreciate that Pilot actually doesn't spend a lot of money on their packaging. That means that you can kind of get the bang for the buck when it comes to the actual pen. So outer cardboard box, inner clamshell plastic box. You get the warranty, instruction guide, some other literature. You get a cartridge for those of you who do not have bottle ink ready, and you get Con 70. In this case, it's the new Con 70N, right? With the new little ribs down here in the barrel. This is what the tag would look like. Model number for this pen is FKK 2000R, and it's DR. So DR stands for dark red, which is what this finish or this material color is. Obviously, the other color option you have for this particular pen is plain black, similar to this pen. So classic Pilot cigar shaped pen with the rounded finials, the usual Pilot clip with the ball end. What's different though, right, with this pen compared to the other Pilot customs that I have, is that the band is not filled in with black lacquer. So it's like just plain engraving on the center band. And what you get down here, you get the word custom 742. You get the 2 stars compared to the 3 stars for the 743. And you get the words Pilot made in Japan, that reassuring statement that you're actually getting something that's actually made in Japan. You get a little ring at the end of the barrel. As you can tell, I bought mine in extra fine. The barrel itself, or the body, is very light. It's made of dark red resin. Plastic threads inside. The pen didn't come, I showed you the Con 70N. I just happened to have a Con 50 that I already had some ink in it, so I just plugged it in to this particular pen. So you notice that inside this area, or the main body or the main section of the pen, has a metal threading down here. And closing it up, the pen has that very reassuring Pilot section right down here, which is, to me, very comfortable to use. Similar to all the bigger end, the higher end Pilot custom pens, it has a 11mm girth right in the middle of the section down here, which means you can write for long periods of time with this particular pen. Lengthwise, the pen is 12.7 to 12.8 centimeters in length, which means for me it's good. It's okay, but it's just, probably I would post this if I was writing for long periods of time. Those of you who follow my channel know that I don't really post my pens, but I think it's appropriate for this size of pen. And then we get to the nib. It's a Pilot number 10 nib, and You get the usual Pilot engraving down there. Can't really make out on, you probably can make it out on the video, but the right at the bottom left part of the nib will actually show the year of manufacture down there. The feet, typical Pilot feet. So before I do the writing sample, these two pens, the 742 and the 912, are actually the two models of Pilot in the Pilot custom range that has the most or the biggest range of Pilot nib options, right? I'm gonna just put all the nib options out here on somewhere on the video because there's 15 nib options for this Pilot number 10 range of pens. Just to give you a very quick view of what these two pens look like, the 912 and the 742, it's just this little part of the pen which makes it different. The 912 is kind of a flat top and a flat bottom. Otherwise, the sections of the two pens are identical. Obviously, the 912 has kind of a chrome or the silvery or rhodium finish. The 742 has a gold finish, or rather it's yellow gold. As you can probably tell, the two pens actually have a lot in common, right? Basically, you can put on a 912 cap. I mean, the dimensions of these two pens are very similar, besides the fact of the 912 having this flat top design. Slightly different details, like the 912 actually has a sword style clip versus the clip with the ball at the end. Interesting thing to note with the 912 is that even though it is pretty much the same price, it's priced at about 20,000 yen, these two pens down here. The 912, the custom heritage, actually has the black lacquer on the center band. So with that being said, just want to show you a very quick writing sample. I'm going to raise the table a little bit using my Hurlitz's pad. So this is the Pilot Custom 742, and it's in extra fine. So it is a very, I would say it's slightly scratchy. For those of you who don't know what to expect of a Pilot extra fine, you might think of it as overly feedbacky, or definitely, you know, some people might even call it scratchy, right? It all depends a lot on the paper you use. I'm using this Hurlitz paper, and Hurlitz paper it's a good paper, but it's not exactly the smoothest out there. So there will definitely be that feedback that you experience when writing, right? So it's I mean, for such a fine nib, it's definitely a nib that you use for cursive writing, right? I mean, I find it not the best to write it in print, right? It just the feedback and the way that the nib reacts, it reacts best when you're actually writing with flowing writing, and when you're writing in cursive, right? So that's the first point. The second thing is the nib, like I mentioned earlier on, it's not soft, right? I mean, it's slightly bouncy, right? But I wouldn't flex this nib at all. I mean, it's meant to be a very fine nib that you can actually use for general writing on not the best paper out there, and still have a fountain pen experience. Like I mentioned earlier on, there's no little or no line variation. I wouldn't push this nib very much, right, as it's not designed to do that. However, depending on how you write, you can actually get some form of variation depending on the pressure that you put and the size of the writing that you do, right? So definitely a cursive nib, right? When I bought this pen, I obviously I knew I was going to get an extra fine. I was buying this for the sake of getting a good cursive writing experience. So, conclusion about the Pilot 742. I mean, first of all, like I mentioned very early on, right? If you already have a 823 or 743 or any of the Pilot pens that have a larger number 15 nib, this pen might not make the most sense, right? Because those pens which I mentioned earlier on, they definitely have the better writing experience. Obviously, slightly more expensive. I would say if you are on the fence whether or not to get the 742 or the 743, you can kind of you probably have to top up for slightly less than $100 US, and then you can get the 743. And in my opinion, I think it's worth it for if you value a very good writing experience. And another thing is that if you have slightly larger hands, right, you might find the larger 743 and the 823 style pens to be a lot more comfortable to use. So that is my very quick look at the Pilot Custom 742. In summary, it's a great introduction pen to the Pilot range. If you don't have any Pilot Custom pens at your disposal at the time, I would like to know what you guys think about this pen. Would you actually prefer the 742 or the 912 in terms of your preferred pen style from Pilot? Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.